What is up, you beautiful people? My name is Rito, and check this out. This is the 2019 updated first sale chart, and I'm going to give you a link to this PDF right there in the description below. But what is it all about? So if you've been following my channel for a while, in 2018 I released 3 videos on Facebook ads testing, which was FB at stage 1, 2 and 3, which was very well received, and a lot of people have started successful businesses based on those 3 stages of Facebook ads. Now in 2019 things have slightly changed than what it used to be before, and I'm going to walk you through the entire first sale chart right here in this video. So stay tuned, hold on till the end, and because I'm going to give amazing value in this video, hit that like button right now. Now, this 2019 strategy is a much more realistic approach to running your Facebook ads, because in the 2018 strategy, what we used to do was after 3 days of running the ads, we used to close them down if the return on ad spend was less than 3. Now, for a lot of you guys, the margins are what dictates what your return on ad spend should be like, right? So all you're looking for is to make profit. That's it. You don't want to be lost, you want to make profit. So in some cases, let's say you price the product only like 20-30% higher than the cost of the price on AliExpress. In that case, even if you got a 3 return on ad spend, you would be in a loss, right? Make sense? So if you have a product that you basically priced in, let's say 1/10 the cost on AliExpress, then you don't really need like 3 return on ad spend. You can make profit even if you have like 1.3 return on ad spend, right? So what you need to do is get a more realistic approach into running your Facebook ads, especially when it comes to testing. Now, there are a lot of YouTube videos out there on how to test Facebook ads, how to test different products that you have on a Shopify Dropshipping store. And some videos are about one product stores, some are about niche stores, and while I generally talk about general stores. Now, the reason I talk about general stores is because this gives you the flexibility to test a lot of different products on a budget. Now, all of my strategies are basically for people who are on a budget, especially the testing phase. Now, when you want to scale, you want to, of course, spend a lot more money to get better results. But when you're testing, right, when you don't know what your product winner is, why do you need to spend thousands of dollars just to get data and just to, bring up the pixel volume, and then maybe the product works and maybe it doesn't? Now, for those who are experienced, so if you're an experienced marketer, you know the demographics of your niche, you know what kind of language your niche talks, you know what kind of interests they have. So all of that, if you have data, if you have, let's say, a lot of lookalike audiences built, in that case, yes, it makes a lot more sense to actually go for niche stores or one product stores. But when you're starting out, especially for beginners, doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So what you want to do is actually hold on tight to your budget and spend your money effectively. And in order to spend your money effectively on a budget, you're going to need the concepts that I'm going to talk about in this video. Don't skimp through, keep watching, because a lot of concepts are going to be covered here. Now, you might have heard the term break-even ROAS a lot, right? So what is break-even ROAS? It's basically the return on ad spend that gets you break-even, right? We don't want that, we want profit, of course, but break-even ROAS is a good metric to know when you're actually running your ads, so that you can compare your actual return on ad spend, compare it with your break-even return on ad spend, and then if the actual return on ad spend is higher than break-even, then you know that you're in profit, otherwise you're in a loss. Now, how do you calculate that? So let's get the basics out of the way. Ready for some quick maths? Just take out a piece of pen and paper and start taking notes. So let me just explain to you how you can calculate your break-even ROAS. Now, the product price is basically the price on AliExpress including e-packet. Now, let's say you're selling that product for $10, right? So that's your selling price. So your margin, which is basically selling price minus your product price, is $6.49. All right. Now, what happens is that you have a margin percentage that comes up. So what is the margin percentage? It's basically your margin divided by your selling price, right? So whatever that amount comes out to be, in this case, it is 0.65. So what you want to do is then calculate your break-even ROAS, which is going to be 1 divided by your margin percentage, which in this case comes out to 1.54. Now, why is 1.54 so important? So let's say you're running your ads, and on this product, you get a ROAS of, let's say, 1.7. Now, that means you're in profit, right? Not exactly when you consider a lot of other factors. Now, as I told you, this 2019 updated first sale chart is about being realistic and actually getting profit. I don't want you to spend like thousands of dollars month after month and then suddenly realize a few months later, wait, your bank account is actually getting drained and you're not making much profit. Why is that happening? So in order to avoid that, in order to actually make profit, you need to understand about another concept which I like to call Stuber. So what is Stuber? Stuber is basically true break-even return on ad spend. Rito is a YouTuber, but I'm going to teach you about Stuber. So why is Stuber so important? Now think about this. When you're running your business, you have a lot of other expenses, especially for people who are like outside the United States. And a lot of my audience is from countries like Monaco and Australia and Great Britain. So for them, if they're selling in USD, then they're going to incur a currency conversion charge. I incur a currency conversion charge on every transaction that happens. Let's say I place an order on AliExpress. So because my local cards are in Indian rupees, but the cards get charged in USD, so the banks and Visa and MasterCard, they take a currency conversion charge, which actually ends up impacting your revenue a lot. The same happens, let's say, when you're paying for Facebook ads. If your Facebook ad account is in USD and your local currency is something different, so the banks are going to charge a currency conversion charge, and that's going to actually impact your margins. The other way that you can get charged for currency conversion is, let's say you have a PayPal account and you have, let's say, $1,000 in that PayPal account that you got from your e-commerce business. When PayPal transfers that USD into your local bank account, they're going to take a bit of that portion, and that also is a currency conversion charge. So what ends up happening is that you end up paying about, I've done all these calculations because I've been running my business for a while. It comes out to about 7 to 8% of your overall revenue, and that is a big thing. And you'll see why when I actually do the Stuber calculations. Now, apart from currency conversion, there are a few other fees that are basically bound to happen. For example, you have transaction fees, which varies between like 2.5 to 4% depending on what kind of payment gateway you're using. If you're using Shopify payments, then you have about 2.6 or 2.9 depending on the Shopify plan you have. So let's say you have PayPal. So in India, the PayPal transaction charges for USD transactions is about 4.4% depending on volume. So I've gotten mine now to about 3.78. I don't really remember the exact amount, but it's less than 4%. So it just depends on what your transaction rate with the payment providers you're associated with is. So you need to do that calculation and figure that out. In my case, it came out to about 4%. So I'm just including that in the calculation as well. The other fees that you need to account for are things like refunds, right? So generally in e-commerce, you get a refund rate of about 1 to 2%. So in my case, it's about slightly less than 1%, but just depends on your customer support and the kind of product that you're selling. So in that case, it varies quite a bit, but you want to aim for about 1 to 2%. Let's just consider 2% for like, that's like the worst case possible scenario. And then if you've got VAs to handle customer support and order fulfillment, then you have that cost. And then of course the Shopify apps and the Shopify subscription fee. Initially, let's say your volume is pretty low. Let's say you're doing $100, $200 a month. So in that case, like $29 a month, that basic Shopify plan also is a big percentage of your revenue. But generally, let's say you scale to about thousands of dollars. So in that case, that percentage becomes very less. But I'm going to consider, for the sake of these calculations, about 4%, right? So what actually ends up happening is that your total expenses comes out about 15% of your entire revenue. And that, my dear friends, is where the Stuber principle comes in. Let's say we're selling that same product and the product price is 3.5 USD and then the selling price is 9.99, the same as before. Now the actual earned, which is the actual money hitting the bank account, will not be 9.99. You have to subtract 15% from that total revenue when you do the actual earned calculation, which comes out to 8.49. Now in the previous calculation, the true margin was about 6.49. In this case, what happens is we subtract actual earned from the product price, which comes out to 4.99, and that is where things start to get a little bit more tricky, because then the margin percentage, which is going to be your true margin divided by your selling price, comes out to 0.5, and which brings the Stuber, which is the true break-even return on ad spend, 1 divided by 0.5, which is 2. Earlier, the break-even ROAS was 1.54. Suddenly you have these calculations built in and your Stuber is now 2. And that, my dear friends, is where the problem starts to happen. So let's say you were just calculating break-even ROAS when you were running your business earlier, right? So let's say you were getting a return of ad spend of about 1.9, right? Because you knew your break-even ROAS was 1.54 and your actual ROAS was 1.9. You're like, yay, I'm in profit. But now, because of all these calculations, especially for people outside the United States, where 7% currency conversion fee is applicable, which is a big amount actually, 7% of your entire revenue. So what ends up happening is that your Stuber is 2, so you're actually in a loss when you're getting a return on ad spend of 1.9 because your true break-even return on ad spend is 2. Does that make sense? With that said, I want to bring your attention to the first sale chart of 2019. So the first sale chart, it's updated. It's based off of all the data I could find in my ad accounts and what has worked for me and what has not worked for me. So it's all updated for 2019. And here is how the first sale chart 2019 looks like. And what this means is that you have got 3 tiers: low ticket items, mid ticket items, and high ticket items. If you're running low ticket items, then you want to try 3 ad sets with a $5 budget each. If you're doing mid ticket items, that is products priced between $30 to $100, then you want to do $10 ad sets, 3 ad sets again. And then if you have high ticket items which are $100 and above, you want to do $20 ad sets and just 3 ad sets like before. Now, if you're not familiar at all with the first sale chart, I would highly recommend you check out the FB ad stage 2 video which I released in 2018, which really walks you through the entire chart and explains to you what it is. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of brain dump down here. I'm just throwing content at you guys, but please hold on because this is important. I'm going to give you an example of how to look at the first sale chart when you're doing, let's say, low ticket items, which is a vast majority of you guys. So you're advertising products between $10 to $30, right? So in the example of low ticket items, you're running 3 ad sets, $5 budget each. And what you have to do on the first day, that is 24 hours after running the ads, you have to check all those 3 ad sets and see if you've gotten 3 clicks or not. If you've not gotten 3 clicks on each ad set, whichever ad set has not gotten at least 3 unique outbound clicks, you want to close that down. On the second day, that is after 48 hours, that is after $10 spent on that particular ad set. So what you want to check out is the number of add to carts. If an ad set has less than 2 add to carts, you want to basically shut that down. And on day 3, that is $15 spent, you want to check out the ad sets again, whichever are left. So you want to calculate the tuber and then see whether the return on ad spend is actually greater than tuber or not. If not, you want to close that down. Now, of course, you will have a return on ad spend if you have gotten purchases. If you have not gotten purchases, your return on ad spend will be 0, which is of course less than your tuber, right? But essentially with the first sale chart, what we're doing is we're doing more realistic calculation, which ends up actually making us real profit. So in order to actually do that, what you want to do is first off know the tuber. It's a very simple calculation. Initially, you might have to do it with your calculator, but as you keep doing it for more and more products, it's basically mind maths. You can do that on your own. And once you know your tuber, you can make real data-driven decisions that matter in your business. So we want you to make profit. And in order to make profit, you need to know your tuber. So this, my friends, is the first sale chart for 2019. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, smash that like button below and let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions about this updated first sale chart. And yes, the PDF link for this chart is in the description. I hope you enjoyed this. Let's kill it, man, in 2019. And until next time, okay, tata, bye-bye.